Today I'm going to describe the steps how to build a baseball field. The things that you will need are shovels, tape measure, a roller, paint, bases, pitching rubber, and home plate and fencing. Now I'll tell you the steps how to build it. You have to pick a site where you want to build it. You will need level ground that is large enough to build the type of baseball field that you have chosen. You have to check that the draining is good, and if heavy rain leaves water standing, you must install a drainage system, or else the field will be flooded when it rains. The second step is you have to pay attention to the dirt. The infield and the baseline should be skinned and crucial, a clean surface. So, because if they hit a baseball, you don't want to get bad bounces. The soil composition varies from region to region, so you have to check the makeup of your site like a site. So you have to take a site where you want to play baseball and nothing gets in the way. You want to get a smooth, rock-free surface that drains well, because if it rains hard, the drainage and the field is going to get flooded and you can't play. The third step is you have to go grass. You want thick, luxurious, and durable carpet of green for the field. You want to install it with Turf Expert for a type of grass that grows best in your area and can stand up to people playing baseball on the field. But if you have money, you might want to consider artificial turf. It is better. The fourth step is to lay out the diamond. Start with home plate, because that's probably the hardest part. So you have to configure it to the sun. You have to configure it so the sun isn't in the batter's eyes, because if the sun's facing the batter's eyes, you're not going to see it and you can't hit it. Many of the professional fields put the plate on the southwest corner of the site. Second base should be 127 feet away. At first and third base, they're 90 feet from home plate. With the result of a perfect square, you have to use tape measure and stakes to mark out the distance. That's the best way to measure a baseball field. And right here is the picture of how everything is measured. And yeah. The last step to build is the outfield one. The distance from the plate varies by the level of competition, but the fences from high school and up are normally 330 to 350 feet away from the foul lines and stretching 400 feet in center field. Your configuration can vary by the nature of the site that you pick and considerations such as whether to create a pitcher's park with the distant fences to give the advantage to hit home runs. Alright, here's the field when it's completely finished. And that's it.
Noe?
Eric, your thesis was a little, it was unclear. I didn't really catch your thesis. The steps were pretty good. Just one thing, I think it would have been good if you would have had a visual for every step to explain, because maybe we don't know, not all of us are baseball fans, so we don't really know the field. That would have been helpful. You also were reading from the paper. You have to have maybe a little more eye contact with the audience. And the visuals were kind of small. People really couldn't see them. Maybe put them on the projection like people have done previously. But your voice projection was really good, and it was informative. Thank you.
Yeah, it strikes me as a page, you know, like a website I could go to, and there are 2 paragraphs there that explain everything that you've got. It needs to be turned into a speech. There's nothing very interesting about this. It's like listening to somebody read a recipe. There's not any content to it. There's a little bit of stuff in a couple of places where you could add something. You're talking about maybe the issue with the configuration of the ballpark with the sun. Okay, that's something that's kind of interesting, and you talk about why they do that, the impact that it would have on the game. Later on, you mentioned about creating a pitcher's park. I guess there's a difference in what the dimensions would be to the outside fences, and I think you could maybe give us some comparisons and how that works. For instance, in ballparks that people might be familiar with, there aren't any comparisons like that. There's no attention device. There's a basic topic identification that's not very interesting. The thesis statement is relatively clear, but there's not really much of a structure. It's just, here's what you're going to need. It's a how-to speech, and it's not really appropriate for this particular assignment. There's no citation of the supporting material. On the visuals, everything's too small to see. I mean, you can see the picture of the ballpark at the end. That's the thing that's least necessary to see. The dimensions that you're describing, for instance, could have easily been put on a transparency or a poster board that would make it large enough for people to see. And then we'd also have a little bit of reference, you know, to, for instance, the outside fences, or where you know, when you're talking about the turf. There's something that would be interesting. You mentioned at one point maybe instead of using grass, you'd use artificial turf. I'd have been interested to know what's the difference in price, what are the maintenance issues that are involved. If we were doing this for a local high school, or if we were doing it for a park, or if we were doing it for a professional situation, what are the advantages and disadvantages of each of those particular things. As it was, it just seemed very perfunctory. You know, what meets the requirements of I'm talking about something, and it just doesn't become much of a speech. The presentation, I think there's way too much reading here, especially given what the content is. This should be something that's almost second nature to you. You're one of those baseball guys. This shouldn't be something that you have to read from your notes a lot on. This is something that you should understand. And I just think you miss an opportunity here to make this work better for you. All right, thank you.